What's up? It's Marco back in on the Stage of Soccer channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Sunday and Monday games from match week 10 of the Premier League. Man, there were some interesting games this week, so I just want to get right into it. To start off, we had Manchester United beating Southampton 3-2 and a pretty big comeback win for them. Got to be encouraged by what you see. I think they're a game in hand out of the top four, so really good recovery by Manchester United. But start things off, we have it was a pretty bad first half for them. Conceded 2 goals. I honestly can't even blame this on the defense. It did look a little bit better. It was a set piece goal of a corner kick, and Southampton with set pieces. But man, I think David De Gea probably should have handled that, but he didn't get onto it, and I ended up conceding. And then later on, there was a free kick goal. Fred gave it away, and I said in the preview, you can't give away dumb free kicks because, Jesus, James Ward-Prowse is lethal off those. But Fred did have a good game, I should say. But aside from that, it was a pretty good performance. Mason Greenwood didn't do the best either. He missed a couple of sitters. I really want to see him get back onto form, but it might be taking a while. Things really changed the second half when Edison Cavani came on, and once Manchester United had like a real true number 9 up there, things got so much better for them. Cavani was able to find Bruno for the first goal, then converted off crosses from Bruno and Rashford later on to get them the win. Huge comeback for United, and man, this is a team that I don't think is that good tactically, but I think Solskjaer has them playing for them, because you know that they've been linked with a Pochettino, and you've seen a couple of teams really fold when that happens, but this is a team that's still playing hard for him, and it really says a lot about Solskjaer. Now, I don't think he's that good tactically, and I think he is kind of holding this team back, but the players are really they like him, and that's something that you got to be proud of with this Manchester United group. I mean, it'd be so easy for them to roll over, but they seem to want to play for this guy. So you got to give them a lot of props there. Individually, I think Fred and Matic, they've been doing very well, and McTominay as well. They've been doing very well in that dual pivot. I think Rashford, he's kind of cooled off a bit, but he's still showing his moments. Bruno Fernandes has been great. He's on a really good patch of form, and Cavani, just amazing performance by him. And Dean Henderson got to get his feet wet. I haven't seen the update on David De Gea's injuries, but hey, he didn't really have too many tests, but really good to see him in the Manchester United shirt. For Southampton, I don't think they deserve to win, despite going 2-0 up. They got the benefit off of James Ward-Prowse being him. You had a really nice set-piece delivery that Ben Derek was able to get on. I saw a couple of people wondering why Maguire wasn't on Ben Derek. He's Vestergaard's there. He's 6'7". Sorry, that's just something dumb that I saw, but just wanted to bring up. Then he hit in a really nice free kick. Djempo won it. I feel like I have to mention winning free kicks for Southampton, winning a penalty for another team, but man, you have to notice it. I don't think they deserve to win. Alex McCarthy was making several mistakes in the net. He was making mistakes and then getting himself out of it, but making saves, but he was not doing the best. Armstrong had a chance to put the game away. He didn't do it. And I think that the main problem for them was they ran out of energy. This is a real, a press-heavy team, and that's why I thought they had a good chance of beating United this week. But I think they ran out of gas, and once they had to go defensively, they couldn't cope with this United team. I think Vestergaard in particular, he was unaware on one of those goals. I forget which one, but he just kept the whole team on side. So that was a pretty bad job by him, but it's an encouraging game to go 2-up on Manchester United. They'll obviously be disappointed to go further down the table, but I do like what I see out of the Southampton team. Picking man of the match, it's pretty easy. Edison Cavani, great performance by him. Next, we have the weekly. This looks like a really good game, but it turns out to be a draw game of Tottenham versus Chelsea. So, it's always these games, but both attacks weren't looking too great. I think that I really would have liked to see more out of Ziyech, Werner, and Havertz. I think Werner was probably the best of the three, but not too much creativity, couldn't get anything going. Abraham was missing some chances. Giroud missed a really good chance at the end. Aside from that, Conte was playing very well, I thought, in the midfield. Kovacic, I thought that he probably could have been used to mark Kane a bit, but they seemed to have him. They did a good job on him regardless. Thiago Silva, this was the performance that I think a lot of people were waiting for. Thiago Silva, this was the world-class center back that we saw, that we knew he had the potential to be when he signed for Chelsea. this was a really nice performance by him. And Reece James, I thought, looked good. And Mendy as well. I mean, I think that if Kepa was in goal for this one, Chelsea would have lost. But overall, I mean, they were the better of the two teams, but they didn't do enough to win for Chelsea. Pulisic returned, so that's always a positive. Next for Tottenham, I think their center backs are doing well. No Alderweireld, but Eric Dyer and Rodon were doing pretty well. Rodon did make a couple of mistakes, but pretty solid performance by both of them. Lloris was making some good saves. I thought their fullbacks did fine. Midfield did well. I mean, Kane and Son couldn't get involved, but I can't really fault anybody because they seemed happy to take the point. Soko defended well. Højbjerg did his job. Fullbacks didn't allow any real chances for Chelsea. Well, aside from that one Abraham one, but you can't be too mad at anybody on this Tottenham team. I think Mourinho, questions have to be asked about him going for the draw, but given the circumstances, it's Chelsea away. You can't be too mad at just getting a point. But yeah, decent performance. I think man of the match. It's going back and forth. I think Conte had a really decent game. I think I'm going to end up giving it to N'Golo Conte. He had a really nice performance. Next, we had a really good game where Wolves beat Arsenal 2-1. And first thing, I really hope Raul Jimenez is doing well. I heard he fractured his skull. I think that's the same thing that Petr Cech had. So hopefully he's able to recover. And David Luiz as well. He probably has concussion. Yeah, that's not too good. But on to the actual analysis of the game. I think for Wolves, that 4 at the back that they used looked really good. I wasn't too sure about this because their fullbacks haven't exactly shown the most defensively. You would think that they were more system players, but they did bring in 2 new fullbacks, so maybe this wasn't an idea all year long. Conor Cody was the guy who I was most concerned about, but he actually stepped up and had a really nice performance. He was still able to get off his long balls offensively, and defensively he wasn't troubled by a really athletic Arsenal attack, and I think that his pace is probably the biggest concern with him. So that is a really good performance by him. Marcel, I thought, also did a good job. It's good to see him back from injury. In the midfield, Dendoncker, he was looking great in the air. He's a beast in the midfield. And Coutinho also had a decent game. Nice to see him still playing well. I think he's kind of an ageless wonder at this point. Going forward, I think the biggest success of this formation was Podence, who was playing at the 10 role. He was doing really well. He's making a lot of chances. Him and Neto were looking good all game. Traore was his usual threat. Didn't really make any chances, I don't remember, but he's still there. He's still, you always have to be aware of Adama Traore, but this was a pretty good matchup for Arsenal, and Fabio Silva was kind of thrown to the Wolves this game, but be a really tough game for him to come on in, but he didn't do the best, but he was trying hard. Hopefully when he gets a full 90 minutes expecting to start, he'll be able to do well. I think that he'll probably stay at the number 9, unless they want to throw Podence up there in a false 9 type role, but it seems like Silva's going to be the guy for them. Really decent performance by Wolves. Probably the biggest performance of the week with them switching to the 4 at the back. Hoping to see more of that. Good job by them. Next for Arsenal, not too many positives. Willian can still deliver a good ball, and Gabriel got a decent header off, but overall it was a bad game. Xhaka and Ceballos in the midfield, it doesn't work. They have to give that up. I know they're dealing with injuries, but once they get healthy, stop. Aubameyang, he's been bad ever since he signed that new contract. I thought it was a coincidence, but now it's starting to raise some eyebrows. But that's something. This attack has been very poor. Something that I was mentioning with Arsenal in the season preview, I think that got cut off, but in the season preview was you can't rely on youngsters. Saka is one of the better players, and who was it? Willock, who was playing as well. They're some of the better players on this Arsenal team, and you can't rely on teenagers to win you Premier League games. Not as your main threat. And man, they need to have some veterans step up for them. Once Partey gets back, I will feel a lot better about this Arsenal team, but jeez, it's not looking too good right now. Defense is still poor. They were missing David Luiz, and he was concussed for a better part of the time he was in. But it's still not good. I thought Hector Bellerin was probably the only bright spot, and I see him getting a lot of criticism. I think that is kind of undeserved. I think he's been one of the better players for Arsenal, but he is still, the defensive side of his game is the weakness. You need to have a. I think if you pair him with like a better center back, he'll be better. And I think he showed his best when he was with Koscielny and who else was that? Was it still Mertesacker there? It might have been. It was a while ago when he really showed his form, but yeah, I still like him as a player. In fact, like the only real Arsenal players I think you can really build around are Partey, Saka, and Bayer. And if Aubameyang gets his form back, him as well. But right now, it's not looking good. And they may need a different voice in this team. And if they do, you're gonna have to fire Arteta now because I think Nagelsmann would be a good look, and he'll only be there at the end of the year. So you might not want to ride out this Arteta thing. Man of the match, I had to give it to Podence. I think he had a great performance in the number 10 role. Hopefully he gets to play there more often. Next, we had Fulham beat Leicester 2-1, and this was a bad game by Leicester. Probably, I say their worst game of the year, I think, every time they lose, but this was bad. Johnny Evans had probably his worst game of the year. He's been on pretty bad form for a while. I know that he was carrying an injury. Maybe that's still affecting him, but he was not looking good. You had Fuchs did not perform well. I mean, it was bound to get caught out Fuchs, he's past his prime. I mean, you can't really hold this against him. He's filling in he doesn't even play center back traditionally, but still, you have to call him out. He didn't have a good game. Really would have liked more from the midfield. Mendy didn't play well. Tielemans had that shot that hit the post, but overall not a good game by him. And, not a good performance all around. I mean, there were moments that Justin Tielemans looked good. Barnes got a goal when he came on. I don't think Vardy's really at fault for this. This type of striker, he relies on his service. So I don't want to say he's ever blameless, but unless he misses a bunch of chances, it's never really his fault for games. But the biggest thing was the poor setup. I mean, you're against Fulham. Probably they're one of the 4 teams in the relegation race right now. And you go with a 5 at the back that was really defensive. I mean, I know that you're missing Pereira, Castagna, who are your probably starting fullbacks, but you could do better. You could trust Luke Thomas to play at the 4 at the back. James Justin actually has been really stepping up. I wonder how they're going to fit him into the team. But it was just a cowardly setup. I think they were trying to play to win on the break, and you have the ability to dominate teams as this really good Leicester side. I don't think they realize how good they are, and that really cost them, I think. Hopefully once everybody comes back from injuries, they can get back to their best, but poor performance. So for Fulham, they made a penalty! They scored a penalty! Yes! Caballero had a penalty, he scored it this time. And one thing that I mentioned from the preview that really came up was their athleticism. Lookman was able to get behind that defense. Johnny Evans probably shouldn't have stepped up there, but great to see him do that. He latched onto an Anguissa pass. Anguissa and Reed were bossing the midfield, really stopping all those Leicester attacks. And D. Cordova Reed is doing well in whatever position he's in now. He's been playing all over the place this year. He's been a real standout. Their defense was able to hold off this Leicester attack. They've been so good ever since they brought in, everybody. Adebayo, Anderson, Aina, and the USA man, Robinson. But just, we're really looking great. This is a Fulham team that's really improved. They're starting to separate themselves in the relegation race. They're really, they're improving so much since the start of the year. You got to be impressed by them. Man of the match for this one, I really liked Anguissa's performance. Last game of the week, we had West Ham against Aston Villa. West Ham came with the win, 2-1. It was a great performance. Ogbonna had an amazing header off a set piece. It was you have to go back and watch that. I don't think I've ever had a goal off a corner that I thought was goal of the week. It was such a nice header. They had early goals in both halves. I think in the first 2 minutes in the first half and the first minute in the second half. Bowen got a header off of Baurama, who was just brought in off a sub. Thought that Rice and Souček did well defensively, though Rice did give away a penalty, though it was missed. But defense held out well. Fabianski was making some good saves. Ogbonna, he had a really nice game. This is a West Ham team that's looking really good. I think that everybody was really doubting them because everything that was going on with the board, the coaching situation was a little weird. We didn't know how long Moyes would have, but this team has talent. Like, Declan Rice is a beast. Suchek. Um, Antonio just came back. He's there. Fornals and Bowen, they're really talented. And just guys off the bench like Bairama, Lanzini, even if they don't start, the talent is there. This is a West Ham team that's finally starting to show it. And I think this is an amazing start by them. I think they're in a Euro place right now, so good for them. Aston Villa, they were starting to cool off. They had a really good start to the year. I don't think anybody thought it would be sustainable, but it is kind of disappointing. Especially for Grealish, because he's been playing amazing lately. He had just had an amazing run for the goal. Got past a few players, curled it from outside the box. Great job by him. The defense wasn't that great. They allowed another set-piece goal. I think that I mentioned they have a zonal marking before, but I'm not too sure about that. I think they have enough height in there to defend normally, but it's just something that I mentioned a couple of times, I think, now, so I want to bring it up again. They had a decent response to the goal. It wasn't really that great. I mean, they're really relying on Jack Grealish, especially since Ross Barkley went down. And I want to say again that people need to stop rating John McGinn so highly. He is so inconsistent. When he has a good game in like 3 games, it'll probably be against a team like Chelsea or something too. But people are going to really praise him. But he has games like this so often. And you had Grealish and Watkins combined to get a ball to Trezeguet, and he missed a shot. He made up for it by winning a penalty, but Ollie Watkins missed that. Man, it was really disappointing for Aston Villa, because especially for Grealish, because they were actually playing well. I mean, West Ham went defensively after they scored, but still, you have to be disappointed with this game. They did have a chance to win, but I mean, I think they did have a bit of luck in a couple of their early wins, so it's just starting to even out. Overall, not the best game, and they are slowing down. I think that Dean Smith isn't the guy for them, but they're definitely not going down this year, so he's probably going to stick around again. Yeah, so that's about it for the game. Man of the match, Ogbonna. Did well defensively. That header was sweet. Like, that's the first, corner goal I've seen in a while where I just went, oh, shit. Yeah. So that's every game this week. November just ended, so I want to mention Player of the Month for November, and specifically match week 7 through 10. A couple of contenders. Bruno Fernandes had a really nice month. Jack Grealish, as I mentioned, has been playing great. But end up going with Diego Jota. He's been scoring a lot of great goals for Liverpool. I think he's just been doing great ever since he signed in, so I'm going with him. Yeah, that's all I have to talk about. That's it for this one. Yeah, I'll see you.